Preliminary numbers for the weekend box office are out, and it's more bad news for Captain Marvel vs. Wonder Woman, although it's not quite as bad as I predicted it would have been. I predicted that Captain Marvel would get under $18 million for weekend number 4, and right now the preliminary figure is $20.5 million, so that's around about $3 million more than what I actually thought it would have gotten. Now, that's just the preliminary figure. For the last 2 weekends, they have downsized the figure that they've released. So last weekend, they took $1 million off, and the weekend before that, they took $2 million off. So this very well could be revised down by a couple of $1 million, but it obviously could be revised up by a couple of $1 million. But at this stage, anyway, we have Captain Marvel earning $20.5 million, and that compares to $24,906,310, which is what Wonder Woman got for her 4th weekend box office. So Wonder Woman again had about 20% more money brought in over the weekend compared to Captain Marvel, which is pretty much the same as weekend number 3. They both suffered a 40% reduction from their weekend 3 to weekend 4 box office numbers. So Captain Marvel was able to actually keep pace with the percentage of money that was reduced, but because Captain Marvel was already earning less money, even keeping pace is still bad news. So Wonder Woman still earned more money than Captain Marvel, but they both lost 40% from what they earned over weekend number 3. So if the Captain Marvel number is not changed from the current preliminary number, if it is in fact $20.5 million for the 4th weekend, I think for the rest of the week, the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, the total will be slightly under $29 million. So about $28,900,000 is what I think it'll get at this stage, so we'll just call that $29 million. And that compares to $37,324,317, which is what Wonder Woman earned for that entire week. So Wonder Woman will continue to claw back the lead that Captain Marvel has, but about $1 or $2 or maybe $3 million less than where I thought it would actually be at the end of this week. On the Captain Marvel vs. Batman v Superman chart, you can see how clear it is now that Captain Marvel is moving away from the Batman v Superman total. I think it was half a week ago that Captain Marvel actually overtook Batman v Superman's 330 million US domestic box office total, and it is widening. So obviously Captain Marvel is not dying off to anywhere near the extent that Batman v Superman died off in, which is obviously good news for Captain Marvel, since Batman vs Superman had just about the worst run ever after having a very good opening weekend. Captain Marvel still is having a very bad run after the opening weekend, but the opening weekend was very, very good. So everything after the opening weekend has effectively failed, but the opening weekend was still excellent, and so the total box office numbers are up there. So I think Captain Marvel has actually doubled her opening weekend now, so it took quite a long time to get double the opening 3 days, which is normally a bad sign for the legs of any film. It still is a bad sign for Captain Marvel, but it was a very, very good opening weekend number that Captain Marvel started off at. And here's this chart again. We have Wonder Woman and Captain America Civil War, Captain Marvel and Batman v Superman. Now it's a little bit more clear to the naked eye that Captain Marvel is slowly gaining on Captain America Civil War. Said it was gaining a little bit beforehand, but it was very difficult to tell on the chart. But you should be able to see now that it is getting a little bit closer to the actual Captain America Civil War total. And obviously Wonder Woman is getting even closer to Captain Marvel than Captain Marvel is gaining towards Captain America Civil War. But they're both sort of moving up on that red line together, and you can see how bad the green line is for Batman v Superman against all of these films. It just did absolutely nothing after the first weekend, basically. So first 3 days, the green line was quite good, very competitive compared to all of these films, and then not so much after that. This chart here, we can see the actual differences in box office earnings at the same point in time between Wonder Woman and Captain Marvel. The red line are the exact figures, although using the 3 numbers that are preliminary numbers for the last 3 days, and the blue numbers there, or the blue line there, are my predictions for the next 7 days. So we can see, once again, the very big gap that Wonder Woman had to make up over Captain Marvel over the first weekend. It was $50 million down. Then the next 4 days, we can see it kind of goes across a little bit. Not much happens on the weekdays. And then Captain Marvel made another $8 million down over the next weekend. And then after that point in time, Wonder Woman has been steadily earning more money every single day. And will keep basically continuing to do that onwards and so on. So This chart shows up to the first 31 days, which is 7 days from now. So there's probably another 60 days after that for the total run for both of these films. And so over the next 60 days, Wonder Woman will keep earning more money and will be able to make up this gap. So at this stage, it's around about $35 million behind where Captain Marvel is. And it is gaining about $1 million every single weekday and more than that every single weekend. And so as time goes on, that $35 million will be clawed back to zero. Or if it isn't, then Captain Marvel will get some sort of strange bump. Now, I have said before that it is possible it'll get a little bit of a bump from Endgame. Normally you would think if Endgame comes out that would just crush everything else. But it is possible that some people that see Endgame might decide to go and see Captain Marvel afterwards. Perhaps they'll think they've missed out on something if they hadn't seen Captain Marvel before. And it's also possible that some people waiting for their Endgame tickets or waiting for their ticket time, they may go and see Captain Marvel beforehand. So that may be a possibility. I know in the cinema where I saw Captain Marvel, they were actually showing Black Panther in the session before mine. I have no idea how busy it was. I thought it was a bit strange that Black Panther was showing. I'm guessing the cinema might have still had some cheap way to show it because obviously Black Panther wasn't the previous film. I thought maybe they might have shown Infinity War. But Black Panther was actually on the session before the Captain Marvel session was, I saw, interestingly. So anyway, if you look at the actual numbers for Black Panther when Infinity War came out, it actually saw a bump during that opening week and that weekend. So on the Thursday, the Friday, the Saturday, and the Sunday, and so on, Black Panther actually increased the money it made over the previous week. Now, it may be a coincidence, but I have a feeling that people that hadn't seen Black Panther, that did see Infinity War, then went to see Black Panther. So there may be a similar thing here. Now, the bump wasn't huge. In percentage-wise, it was quite a big bump, but Black Panther was earning basically no money. And the same thing with Captain Marvel. Now, Captain Marvel's basically earning no money. No films really make money after the first 2 or 3 weeks. And so even if Captain Marvel gets a bump from Infinity War, it won't change the real number of money it's actually earning at the box office because it's just basically earning nothing right now, just like every film. So nothing abnormal about it, but after 2-3 weeks, films just don't earn too much money nowadays. So the semi-official worldwide figures for Captain Marvel are now at $990 million. Now I say semi-official because obviously it's using the 3-day North American gross, which is not exactly official, and the international numbers, as always, are still not really reliable. So it'll definitely earn more money than that. It'll get more than $990 million, but it may not be on $990 million at this point in time. The only question is when they will sort of semi-officially update the next international batch. The international numbers just come in all over the place, and so perhaps tomorrow we'll get some international money in, and we should get another $2 or $3 million, probably about under $3 million for Captain Marvel on Monday. So that may bring it over the top of the 100th biggest film ever. So right now, Ice Age Continental Drift is the 100th biggest film ever. Captain Marvel is sitting at number 101. It is the 101st biggest film ever. And it needs about $3 million to overtake Continental Drift. So it may not be able to get the $3 million from the US domestic Monday alone, but if international figures are added to it on the Monday, which will really be Tuesday when we hear about the adding of the figures, that means officially or semi-officially, Captain Marvel will have been the 100th biggest film. So I will make a celebratory video for it becoming the 100th biggest film ever. It will obviously move up from there, hopefully, because you know its run isn't over yet, but the moving up from there will be very slow because it's only earning a couple of $1 million a day, so it's not really going to move up the ranks quickly, but it can still move up from there. But tomorrow, perhaps, it will be the 100th biggest film. It will definitely be the 100th biggest film, at least by the end of the week. Okay, there's nothing that should really stop it getting $3 million, but it may not happen tomorrow, but it should happen by Tuesday. So something little to look out for. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.